Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Creative Finance Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Jen.
And I'm Joe.
And we are going to be pulling back the curtains on exactly where we think you should be spending your time. If you're looking at buying cash flowing rentals in 2025, this episode is for you. We're going to break down some simple strategies. We're going to go into how we would have done this if we had these tools back in 2000 when we got started, and so much more. So stay till the end of this podcast.
We are going to be sharing some of our favorite nuggets today, guys. And this is like 2025. It's a different market than it was last year or previous years. So what are some of the strategies moving forward? Now, I've been paying close attention to the news. And the Feds just recently announced a few weeks ago that they're not going to have as many rate cuts as they were hoping. Everybody was hoping for these rate cuts in 2025 to help take the real estate market and make it explode again. Now, there's different pockets of the country that are doing different things. I know in South Florida right now, in many other states, the market's pulling back. You know, the prices right now are at an all-time high, which means now taxes have gone up, which means insurance has gone up, especially if you're in Florida, right? But now with these interest rates getting up there too, it's just making things unaffordable.
Yeah. So what does this mean for the average investor?
So the average investor, if I was years ago going to the MLS, or I found even an off-market property, right? And I'm going to go to the bank and I'm going to get a loan, and then I'm going to add in the taxes, the insurance, my payment, maintenance, repairs, and then I could turn around and I could rent it to somebody else and then make some money on top of that, right? That's always the goal. But right now, that's not happening. And I keep seeing, I just did a post in a whole bunch of Facebook groups, and everybody's like, I can't find deals that cash flow. What are you doing? So don't get me wrong. There are some smaller outliner markets where you can still find cash flow if you buy the deal right, inexpensive properties. So there are some. It's not completely impossible, but it's highly unlikely, especially if you're going to want to buy in some of the major markets. I know places like Austin, Texas, Dallas, Texas, all over Florida, and many other states right now, Atlanta, Georgia, right? It's just a challenge. So what are we going to be doing moving forward in 2025? Here's going to be our strategies, because we are looking to buy beautiful houses in beautiful neighborhoods that we could turn to a rental, or better yet, rent to own, which is our favorite. So the first thing that we're going to be doing for 2025 is I'm definitely going off market deals. I'm going to be getting off market leads in abundance. I feel like anything that's on the MLS is usually already been picked through by every agent and every broker and every real estate investor. And so anything that's not gone and it's just lingering on the market, odds are it's not that good of a deal, right? So I'm looking to go directly to seller, and I need to get off market leads. Our favorite strategy is Facebook. I know many people are using that. I have clients of ours who say, I've got leads coming out of my eyeballs for free. So there's the first strategy to your success for 2025. And this is the key to any business, is you need to have leads coming in. And if you don't have leads coming in, you don't have a business, period, right? So you got to have leads coming in, rather you're cold calling, direct mail, and all the other millions of different ways that you can get leads. Our favorite is by generating for free by using social media, Facebook. And we've already shared that before in past podcasts, but if you haven't, check those out. But we just go into Facebook groups, we make a post. Does anybody have a house for sale that's not market ready? I'm looking to buy one in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I make that post for my own personal Facebook page into like buy and sell groups, garage sale groups. And now if I'm targeting Columbus, Ohio, and I join Facebook groups there, make those posts there, people in Columbus, Ohio will be reaching out to me with off-market properties that they want to sell. Now, there's going to be some that are agents. There are going to be some that maybe it's listed on the market and it's not selling and they're frustrated. We do get that too. However, I think a lot of them are going to be off-market, right? So that's the first major step.
And I think it's really important to mention too that if you've tried this in the past or you dabbled with it, like, no, it's not about just like putting one post out into a Facebook group. It really comes with consistently like holding yourself accountable 4 to 5 days a week into, what would you say, 5 to 10 groups a day?
Yeah, minimum 5.
Yeah.
But think about it. If you just do the math like you're talking about, 5 Facebook groups a day, 5 days a week, you're in 25 different Facebook groups. Now I know the groups I post in, I'll have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people in them. Some have over 100,000 people. So I don't know any other way that you can get into hundreds of thousands of people in a week for free in a targeted area other than using social media.
And honestly, I almost think like, okay, yes, you need to have leads, but maybe even before the leads, you have to like tell yourself that this is going to work, that there are people that need your help. Because we always talk about mindset, but like seriously, if you're somebody who just feels like you're beating your head against the wall and this doesn't work, then that's the type of energy you're putting out there. So maybe just try putting on the optimist hat and just know that if you post into enough groups, that there will be sellers that have properties that are not listed on market that will reach out to you. So make sure that you're then ready to message with them in the comments, in the DMs, and really make sure that you're, ready to help them, because this does work.
Yeah. And the crazy part is they're going to come to you in two different ways. They're going to leave a comment on your post, or they're going to send you a direct message in the DMs, right? And that's where the magic happens, is in the DMs. That's where you're getting their contact information, you're getting their address, their motivation, timeline of when they want to sell, and get on the phone with the motivated ones, right?
It really is so simple. Like, I feel like people are rolling their eyes like, oh, well, you really need to spend $1,000 on a marketing campaign, or I need to have all the SEO or the PPC or the mail. No. Simplify 2025 and take the action. So number one, get your mindset right, but then go generate those leads. We had in our coaching community, one of the comments dropped in there by Steven said he got 334 comments on his last Facebook post. 334 comments. I shared that message on my Facebook stories just yesterday. So what would you do with 334 incoming leads? These are leads that are reaching out to you, not you cold calling them or door knocking. Like, they're raising their hand digitally saying, I have a house to sell. I would take them so seriously. And I think this is the next step that people really they don't adhere to this simple rule of every comment could lead to a deal. It could lead to a sale, so treat them as people. Ask them the questions. Why are they selling? What's going on? If they're motivated, hop on the phone call. But every single comment deserves you to tell them, sending you a message, if they're not being a total knucklehead. Yeah, absolutely. So then the next step too is like, we really want to learn creative finance. This is the year to really start buckling. And two things are going to happen this year. Either you're going to sit on the sidelines and you're going to wait for the market to change. You're going to wait for rates to drop, and you're going to be sitting there waiting who knows how long for your next deal. And there's a big group of people doing that right now. Oh, I know. Every time I meet one, I feel like the cheerleader of like, no, come over here. We're having so much fun. There's like so many people. We can't help them all. And yet they're maybe scared or nervous or frustrated. So what are you supposed to do? How do you learn creative? So, and I think this is what we were kind of mentioning last night. Like, this isn't something new. This has been around for decades and probably centuries. Buying something with owner financing, right? I want to buy the house next door. And back in the day, they were just bartering with each other, right? So it's no different than going back to the roots. And one of the things, breaking it down simple, right? So with a seller who has a beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood, and it's not some offer where it's going to be half off, I could pay great money for it. I don't have to give a lowball offer. And that feels good inside, knowing when a seller's like, hey, this is what I want for my house, which is a fair price. And I could pay that happily because I'm getting great terms. And so it's learning how to create win-wins for you and the seller. And I think about breaking it down, the very first one we did, the easiest one. I can't even say it was the easiest because there's been easier ones since then. But Steve, pretty easy, yeah. He said, I want $80,000 for my property. I said, sure. He's like, well, first of all, I don't want a lowball offer. I said, no, I understand. It's a nice house. Doesn't need any work. He said, $80,000 is what I want for it. I said, okay, I could do that if I could do it with owner financing. He said, what would that look like? I said, well, I'll close on it. I'll buy it. I'm just going to pay you, the Bank of Steve, every month instead of Bank of America. He said, what would that look like, Joe? I said, well, I pay the taxes. I pay the insurance. What would you take for the payment? And what we agreed on was $500 a month flat, not amortized over 50 years or 30 years. So this is a flat $500, no interest. So the $500 that we gave him every month went towards our balance. So he was thrilled. He got $80,000 because all that was just a delayed cash sale for full price.
We paid all of the closing costs, we paid all of the fees, and we bought it as is. So when his renter moved out and left the couch behind, left the TV behind, he didn't have to worry about doing that.
Nope.
We did it all, right? So make it quick sale, make it easy sale. And that's what people wanted, especially Steve in that situation. So I think creating wins, and this is what I loved about creative finance, because every other investor, I'm going to drop a gold nugget right now. Most investors don't understand how to buy properties this way. So I know before I did, anybody who had a house that was turnkey and beautiful, I couldn't help them out because I was buying junkers. I had to buy them for 50 cents on the dollar. So when a seller came to me, highly motivated or not, but even the ones that were super motivated, I couldn't figure a way to structure a deal to where I could pay full price for their house and make it a win for them and me. It made no sense. I couldn't figure it out until I realized that I could pay a great price if I could get some great terms. And once we figured this out, it became to the point where I was able to leave my job at 42 years old and not have to work a W-2 anymore. And we could buy all of the real estate we wanted. We do it virtually because these are nice houses. So I don't even have to go to them. I could do it all from my home, and we do that. So 2025, either you're going to be paying 7-8% interest, or you can still find deals out there that have 2 and 3%. And those are the deals that will cash flow. Those are the deals where a seller might be in a jam. We just talked to one of our clients, and she's got a house in Jacksonville, Florida. The house is turnkey. It's beautiful. It needs nothing. These people just bought it. They took a VA loan. With a VA loan, they bought it for $325, but they rolled in all of the closing costs and fees. So even though they bought it for $335, they financed $336. So they financed over it. So the last year and a half that they've been living there, all they did was pay down the balance to what they bought it for. So now they have no equity. They need to sell it. They know if they put it on the market and list it with an agent, they're going to pay a commission and closing costs, and they know they're going to write a big check.
Which most people can't do right now.
They can't do it.
Yeah.
So they're struggling. So they go to say that they would love to break even. And in these situations, they can't. So this is an opportunity where we can buy it, we can close on it, and we could buy it for what they owe and take over their existing payment. And this is a 2-year-old house. It doesn't need anything. The challenge with this one was when they financed it, the rate is in the 5s. It doesn't cash flow. So that does happen from time to time. If it doesn't cash flow at 5%, it's certainly not going to cash flow at 7.5 or 8%, right? Yeah. But the way those do is when you could find those same situations where they have a 2 or 3%. And it's like almost 70% of people who have a mortgage currently right now in the US have a rate under 4%.
So it's really is a numbers game. So you're generating leads and you're learning creative finance. So then really the next step is to know your numbers with creative, because even with creative deals, there might be times like you're mentioning that it still may not cash flow. So you just really need to make sure that the numbers all make sense and be consistent at reaching out to enough people to build up your list of sellers. And maybe time and circumstance, I don't know what could possibly happen in the future to help these people. We can't help everybody, but keep going until you find the right people that you can help.
Yeah. And I think of Derek. We just bought their house. They moved to Texas. The same situation in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, 2-year-old house. They moved. Now they had a 4% rate. So that deal cash flows, and it's a 2-year-old house. They were already moved. He moved. Wife was left behind. So we actually helped them get their family back together. We helped them get the house sold quickly with no commissions, no fees. And now we bought a beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood, 2-year-old house in Florida with a 4% rate, even in today's market. So moving forward in 2025, those are going to be the opportunities. Now, as the market is softening in Florida, I got to tell you, when we would have 10 sellers reach out to us in the past, all 10 of them were off market. I got to say, if I get 10 sellers today in Florida, 2 or 3 or 4 of them are on the market and they're not selling, and they're frustrated with their agent. They're frustrated that the house isn't selling.
And these are beautiful houses that don't really need anything either.
Multi-million dollar, some of them. I mean, like really.
So the market's definitely funky right now, for sure.
So with that being the case, I'm still able to make them an offer and make really, really great deals. And it's just happening in abundance.
So maybe Florida might not, if you're new to investing or new to creative, maybe Florida is not the place that you want to really dabble in. Do we have some markets that we would definitely recommend?
So, there are certain parts of Florida where you're not going to spend, $3 million for a house. You're buying in Miami, stuff gets to be really expensive, right? But there are parts of northern and central Florida. Real estate's very inexpensive. Insurance is affordable. But now I start looking at other states. South Carolina, North Carolina is booming, right? It's still growing. Tennessee's growing, and it cash flows, inexpensive. I'm going to say it, but upstate New York.
I was going to say, are you going to give away our favorite, even though, there's plenty of houses out there. You guys know us for abundance mindset, but for sure, upstate New York, the surrounding suburbs of Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, Albany, like those are what I would call sweet spots that if you just start that Facebook method and you find some little townie groups around there, there is gold sitting there people are waiting for you to reach out to them right now.
Yeah.
Like if you stop this podcast right now and rewind it and listen to what he said and you go drop that and then start back up again, like you are going to be taking that messy, massive action that we keep talking about time and time again.
So if I'm adding deals to our portfolio, especially in 2025, the only smart way to do it is buying with creative finance. That's if it's a seller finance deal, if it's a free and clear property, or if they have an existing mortgage and I can buy it with a wrap and I'm able to buy it, but the loan stays in their name, but they have a really low payment. I am buying those deals, as many as we can get for this year. But now I'm going to take it to another side of the business. What about all them junker houses? What about all those houses where it's a nice neighborhood, but the house is all run down and it's outdated and it needs work, or a squatter or a hoarder lives in there, right? We've seen all of those situations and then some. So I will tell you what we used to do, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do for 2025.
Oh, I'm intrigued to hear.
So in 2024, in years in the past, we would find a lot of these opportunities, and we had the choice to either fix and flip it ourselves. Sometimes we would fix it and, turn it into a rental, depending on the situation, because we did one of those. But we also were wholesaling. So what does wholesaling mean? It's just it's like a tool in your tool belt. Right? You can't build a whole house with just a hammer. You need to have multiple tools in your tool belt. So sometimes I might find a great deal in a fixer-upper, but maybe I've got capital tied up in another deal. Maybe I just don't want to take on the huge renovations. Like I've got one now. It's an older house, like my kiss of death, what I don't like doing at all. The big old houses, anything built in the 1800s, it's 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 square foot. I won't touch those things with a 10-foot pole. I'm going to assign that deal. I'm going to sell the paper. I'm going to sell the contract. I'm not selling the house because I don't own the house, but I'm going to have it under a contract, and I'm going to find a cash buyer in that area who's looking for that kind of deal. Maybe they're just not resourceful to find the deals and the leads and all the manpower to sift out all the good ones and the bad ones and then negotiate and make the numbers work.
Because usually their wheelhouse is like actually maybe swinging the hammer and coming up with the cash or whatever it might be. So.
Yeah. So moving forward in 2025, I'll tell you, I'm going to be doing, it's going to break my heart. I don't want to do any fix and flips. I know we have some on the radar. I'm trying not to do any fix and flips.
It's like literally our kryptonite.
But what
we're not going to do one. We're on the record saying we're not going to do one. And yet we're talking about possibly doing one.
Okay. But that's neither here or there. What we're working on is wholesaling more deals this year.
And I heard it as like a cash injection. So it's like sometimes people also don't understand, like if I'm offering the seller, $80,000 for their house that's maybe worth $200,000 or $300,000, like I don't have the $80,000. You're not talking about you coming up with it. This is where you're going to assign the contract.
Yep. And they're going to pay me a finder's fee for that contract. So, I've got one right now that we're working on. We're not flipping this house, but we have one in St. Pete, Florida. Lexi and I have been talking about this seller for the last probably week or two. The gentleman's house got flooded during one of the hurricanes, and it's all ripped down from probably about 4 foot down. It's all ripped down to the studs. He's living in a hotel for the last few months. And he wants to sell his house. He doesn't owe anything on it. But if you think of the complications of pulling all of the permits with the city, getting the right contractors, not just to cop it together, but to actually do this properly, by the time the money and the resources, and it's mid-January right now. If you say
really leave it to somebody who does this in strictly
absolutely
just like an operation. Now, I guess my question to you is there any way you can try to work with terms for, sometimes we like to take over either seller payments for a little bit or take over the mortgage payment for a little while the house is getting fixed up, so that you don't have to come up with all the lump sum?
Yeah. So if you're going to do some fix and flips, if big asterisks, one of my favorite ways to do it is I buy the house, but instead of paying cash for the entire property, I might buy it with seller financing. So I don't really come up with any money besides just a few thousand in closing costs, but now I own it. Now that I own it, if I'm going to do any renovations, I could deploy that then and then turn around and resell the house that I owe. And my seller knows that once I sell the house, they're going to get paid off too. So that's been one of our favorite strategies. And if we do any fix and flips, that's going to be the only way to do it. But to come up with $800,000 cash for his house, what he wants, spend $200,000 in renovations, holding costs, cost of funds, all of the other things, all of the, oh, we didn't know that, now we're over budget, right? Because all of these things happen. And if you don't go over budget, you've never done a fix and flip before, because most of the time they do. And so once you start put all of that in there, and then it sits on the market, and the whole area was flooded. So the whole market's getting a little bit soft right there too. Insurance is high. So that's just putting a lot of risk on.
My gosh, can you even get insurance on a property like that?
Who knows? Who knows?
I can barely, I struggle getting one with a beautiful turnkey house right now.
So these are the deals that we're looking at. So for me, rather than have to undertake all of that and spend the next 4 or 5, 6 months of my life or longer doing this, and then if you think about it, in 6 months from now, we're back in hurricane season again. So I'm listing this house.
It's a reality.
It's lower part of the year, back in hurricane season. So for me, I rather wholesale that. Let somebody who is a local contractor who knows every square inch of St. Pete, who this is all of they do. They have the agents. They maybe even have buyers already, and they have the crew. They have all of the resources, and this is what they specialize in. Guys, I will gladly take a small finder's fee and get paid now, rather than coming up with all of the money, all of the risk, and waiting 6 to 7 months to finally get paid. Because when you buy it, the seller gets paid, title company gets paid, the insurance company gets paid, all of my contractors get paid, the utility companies all get paid. Then when I sell the house, I'm paying an agent, I'm paying more closing costs, and I'm finally the last one to get paid, and I'm the one with the biggest risk, right? And so fix and flipping in 2025.
Not the best way to start investing. So I'm so glad that we covered that, because this is all about the best way. And so if you do come across this amazing deal, get around the right people, wholesale that contract, get some money in your pocket, and then now you're going to have some cash for the beautiful turnkey houses, for the closing costs, maybe a little money down if the seller absolutely needs some. But that's like the simple way that you can start investing in real estate. Don't get all shiny object syndrome with every deal possible. Really keep it super simple, ask the right questions, and just make it happen.
Yeah. So snapshot. Beautiful houses, turnkey houses. I'm buying them on owner financing or with wraps, creative finance. Beautiful houses, beautiful neighborhoods that I could rent in cash flow. Because if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. On the fixer-uppers, no more fix and flipping this year. I'm going to wholesale that to cash buyers, and my cash buyers, I'm going to let them do what they do best. Renovations, I'm going to do what I do best. Find the deals and put that together. Right? So 2025, guys, it's going to be an amazing year. The market is shifting all around the country. And how do you adapt to the shifting markets are going to make or break your business. Everything that we do is very easy, but we're very in tune to what's happening in the market. So what I recommend for you, if you're listening, go to your local real estate meetups.
I was just going to say that.
Connect with other investors. Every single time we go to a local real estate meetup, we make a lot of money. We either find a seller, we found a buyer, we find a real estate investor who maybe has a lead, but it's not quite a deal yet. But if they knew creative finance, it is a deal, and we're able to help. Right.
Yeah, that belly to belly conversation, it just takes you to the next level. So I know you might be scared, it might be nervous, but that it should be one of your main goals if you are getting into real estate, is connect with the local people that are holding the meetups, and then also hop in on some online trainings, because we hold those, and there's other credible resources out there too. But do not sleep on what's about to happen here in 2025. There is a lot of people to help. There are a lot of people to help. I can't stress that enough. There's a lot of money to be made, and there are right ways to do it. And so make sure that you surround yourself with those who are correctly doing it. And as always, if you have questions, feel free to comment below. And we have an upcoming live training as we're recording this. We are getting ready for that. So I have to get that a shout out. It is Friday, January 24th, 10 a.m. Eastern until 3 p.m. Eastern. This guy here is going live for 5 hours. There's a little bit of a bet. Can you do 5 hours straight? And how much espresso will you need?
I could do a 10-hour straight one, okay? Besides maybe like a quick break here or there. But no, this is going to be a 5-hour. It's going to be a super awesome session. So if you need to get in, it's going to be a private Zoom event. So if you want to get your tickets, drop us a message. We'll get you in there. You're not going to want to miss this. It's going to be amazing, guys. So crushing it in 2025 is not just an idea. It's not just a hope. It is a goal, but it is an action plan. Here's the action plan that we're using. I'd love to hear what you're doing in 2025. So if you want to drop a comment or message below, please do. I want to hear what you're up to, and let's connect and let's all make some money together.
Absolutely. Happy New Year, guys. And until next time.